Welcome to the Airbnb Blueprint Podcast, your go-to training hub for building your very own Airbnb business. In each episode, we break down the exact blueprint that helps us build a multi-six-figure Airbnb business from scratch, and we'll show you how to do the same. Continue learning with us for free in the Airbnb Blueprint Coaching Community on Facebook. Find the link in our show notes below. Commit, believe, succeed. Let's go. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. We've got the main man here again. How are we doing?
Woohoo!
High energy. I like it.
Woohoo!
How you doing, mate? You all good?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. You're right.
Consistent revenue, recurring consistent revenue.
Is there such
Is
thing?
there such a thing? Going to be honest, it's one of the things that I don't really like about the industry. And obviously, you know, the bigger you get, the more confident you get, the more relationships you build, the more clients you're working with. Yes, your revenue does start to kind of become a little bit more dependable, but there's a long time there, especially when you're just starting out, where, you know, you might be putting your whole life savings into your first couple of units, and you have a couple of really good months, maybe leading into the summer, and you're like, this is great.
Got it.
Bank account's looking good. You get your money back fast, and then you're flying high. It's all profit from here on in. And then you're like, let's take on another unit, another unit, you know, and before you know it, you read about it, I've taken on 10 units in the last 18 months. But the problem is that if you just have literally 2 or 3 dry months, which is happening more and more now, as we spoke about in the last episode, bookings are down, rates are down, supply is up, right? Money goes out so quick. It's a cash flow business. Mm-hmm. So rent, you know, bills, maintenance, you know, linens, cleanings, all of it, the broadband, the Netflix, you know, if I look at our account, it's ding, 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 ding. Right. It's just, you know, debits. Yeah. And you're hoping that's obviously, there's a lot more coming in than going out. But yeah, it's that up and down, sleepless nights, you know, couple of dry months, bank accounts not look, how much longer can I last? There's so many people in that boat. Mm-hmm. Is that how you kind of felt at the start too?
Yes, I would say, yeah. Because, you know, we weren't told, I would say we weren't taught about this. You know, we weren't taught about the business. So all we were told, it's just everything around the strategies, like how to go
just
about,
get the
units.
Listing optimization.
It seems to be the fashion that, you know, you need to do the key shot, like the more units you get, the more key shots on the post, and you look great, you feel great. Everyone's like, oh, come on, let's go for it, more. And then when things don't turn up well, and what happened, so it went quiet. Like,
that's why, and
let's not talk about him.
And then you go through those periods. I was there, you no doubt have been there, where you're like, you know what, that job that I had, even though I hated the people I work with, I hated the commute, you know, the pay sucks, but you know what, at least I knew on the first of the month, I knew that I had X coming in and there was Y going out, and I knew exactly where I was. And if I put aside 100 quid a month, I know that, I don't know, next year I'm taking that holiday to Spain with the kids. Now you're a business owner, entrepreneur, and it's like...
Yeah. But the thing is, like, I think for us is, you know, we could never go back to work, because I think once you have tasted it, and you know that, you know, there's so much more.
Once you've tasted those sleepless nights.
Yeah, that's part of it as well. But, you know, once you've tasted the freedom, right, you can't like undo it.
I can't live without crippling anxiety anymore.
No, I mean, I can't go back to sit in front of the desk and keep doing Excel spreadsheets for no reason.
Yeah.
You know, I can't do it.
Yeah.
It's going to drive me nuts. I can't just go out and sit in the meetings all day and do nothing.
Yeah.
It just wastes my time, you know.
So we know that we love being in the business. We know that we like being in control of our time. We know that we like the ability to have the option to scale, right? And grow the business and be in control of how much we're worth and how much we want to make and all that kind of stuff, and find that lifestyle balance, which you can't do with a job. So we want to maintain that. But how can we try and, help this, up and down, constant anxiety of being in the serviced accommodation business, you know, 1 month really good, the next month really bad, having to save for the rainy days, as people say. You know, the
it rains all the time in the UK. So
rains every day.
You wouldn't have time to save.
No, exactly. What can we do about that? Because we have found, you know, over the last few years, a way to really take that anxiety edge off and know that we're going to make really good, consistent revenue each month. So what's one of the best ways we can do that? Is it to start a cleaning company maybe?
No, not for me. I've seen a few cleaners and I said, you know what?
You don't like the marigolds?
No,
you look good in marigolds.
Hey?
You look good in marigolds.
Oh, thank you. No, but I don't like to scrub the craps in the toilets.
And even better, how can we make consistent revenue by doing almost no work?
Yeah. Well, this is the thing that, you know, it hit me as a massive light bulb moment. You know, it's such a eureka moment for me when I sold the first inquiries back, I don't know how many, good few years back. So most of the time when we're in the operations, we just go out, hustle, trying to do listing optimization, updates, everything, competing with the price, check the price, you know. Yes, you can set things on Price Lab and never look at it again.
Put nice little menu, like house manuals
and house
in there.
manuals, scrubbing it, polish it, QR codes, you know, leave all the breadcrumbs.
Little YouTube videos of how the oven works.
It's such a hassle. Like, I hate
and
doing it.
No one cares.
Yeah, no one gives a shit, right? So
contractors, the amount of times I see ads, you know, paid ads, and they say, you want to know how to make more money in Airbnb? Put this house manual in.
Yep. Like, they still call you like, how do I get in the house? You know, where's the key box?
It's like the contractors aren't going to book unless there's a little pretty house manual.
Crates of beers.
Yeah, they don't care anyway.
So many people, right, like coming to our place and we've sent them video instruction. It can't be clearer than this. Yeah. Like, it's a short of video walkthrough to how to get to A to B, how to get the keys, how to get to the place. And
what a way to spend your time making all that stuff.
Well, I think for me, if I want to go somewhere, if they had that kind of, you know, visual thing, it would help definitely. Like, I don't need to be bothered.
But it's not going to determine whether you book it or not. You turn up to the property and you're like, oh, this is nice. There's a nice little manual. No, but as far as getting the booking and making money.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say, you know, if you're looking for experience, it depends on your niche that you're serving.
Yeah,
you know, if you go for
tourism and stuff,
leisure market, then experience is a must.
Yeah.
You know, it has to be from the get-go of even before they book with you until they leave the property, right? And you start nurturing them the whole time. That is the kind of experience you have to deliver as part of the, you know.
But at the same time, the issue with the leisure market is a lot of the time that, you know, maybe sometimes they will, but a lot of the time that tourist isn't going to be coming back to your property. They might do sometimes, but anyway.
Yeah. Eureka moment was that, like, when our property was fully booked at that time, and then there are more inquiries that came in, and we were like, well, usually most of the time I would say, you know what, I'm so sorry, I'm fully booked, because that's what I've been told to do.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's easy to put your hands up and say, you know what, just forget it.
Yeah.
You know, it's looking healthy in my bank account is great. You know, I don't need to do more. But that is wrong. You know, the stuff that happened that day was that I accidentally said yes and said, yeah, we'll help you. And then what I did at that time was I looked for partners that are willing to work with us, and then we passed the booking on to them.
I will just touch on that, Pooh. It's so easy to do what you just said when you've had a couple of good months, or let's say you got 2 properties and they're both booked out for the next 6 months, and then an inquiry comes in, you're like, oh, I'm good. You know, because you got no stress. That's what
most people would do, right?
You got no stress. And it's easy to just rest on your laurels and say, you know what, I'm good. You know, we're making good money. Yeah. But again, hammer this point home, that group of contractors that are in your property for 6 months, you know, they might leave tomorrow.
Yes. Yeah.
Job ends, job changes, they find a cheaper place. They haven't paid you for 6 months, they paid you for 28 days. And then what happened? You said yes?
So I said yes. You know, we look for a place for you. We look for you know, different partners that are willing to work with us with the same quality as well, because you can't, you know, put people in a lower standard quality.
Yeah, sure.
And then we pass them the booking. And usually, you know, for different other kind of communities, they would say, oh, you know, pass it for free. You know, we help each other. And I think in some way it's not entirely correct, because you are entitled to charge something.
You're doing work.
Yeah, you're doing work.
And that person came to you for a reason. That's what you need to realize.
Because they trust you. You know, because it's a know, like, and trust factor, and they trust you. They want to work with you. That's why they keep coming back to you. And if you can keep saying yes to them, it's value addition.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that's how like I pass it on to another partners, which I work closely with at that time. And they happen to stay with that partner for 3-4 months, and then we take commissions from it. Now,
what was the commission you charged?
15% plus VAT.
Just to make sure that people listening understand, is that 15% one-off payment or each month?
It's each month. So the way we do things is we always control the money. So the money has to come through us all the time. We would never pass the contacts. Eventually, you have to pass the client's contact to the partners because that's how it's their safety as well. They need to know who they come to the property. And this is the thing, there's going to be a lot of poaching, client stealing that happens all the time, which you can't prevent it. But it's a mindset thing that you have to believe that actually, you know what, if you're doing a great job, right? If you're doing so much for your clients, the clients will always come back to you. They might try someone else, but eventually if the service is not on par with yours, they'll come back to you.
Yeah, of course.
And that's how we maintain our clients the whole time. But that moment when, we pass on the deal, the partner makes great money. Like each month, I think he's making about 3.5. This is gross, for like say 2-bed apartments. But we are charging like 600 quid, per month.
Per month for doing
and
nothing.
then for the next 4 months, we get like 600 pounds for just doing one invoice. We're like, hold on a second. Like, I don't have to do anything, just one invoice. And it cost me, my time is 600 quid for doing that work. Mm-hmm. And that is the moment where, I felt like, holy crap, this is actually happening. And it's such a recurring, income that I don't have to do anything. Mm. From then on, we are like heavily focused on making a lot of money for our partners. And then we just take commissions. And
let's look at some of the additional benefits to that, right? So one client, one phone call, one arrangement, £600 per month, every month for, what was that, 4 months?
It varies, yep. Yeah. But let's say, for example, if the contractor, that one stay for 4 months,
yeah,
that's £2,400.
So recurring revenue, but the added benefits of this side of our business is that we don't need the property.
No.
So we don't have the high risk contract. We don't take on, all of the rent, all of the bills, all of the maintenance. So all of that goes away. Sometimes we do have to get involved with some guest communications, but for the most part, we're not dealing with the guest. We're not dealing with any issues. That all goes to the host that we've connected them with. So essentially, you're getting paid for just making that phone call.
Yep.
And as long as you've done the right job in finding the right host and matching them with the right client, as long as that relationship works, which, we can teach you how to make sure that does work, and you're not going to have any issues to deal with, then it doesn't really get much more passive than that.
No.
In this game.
People tend to say like, is it entirely like passive, income? I would say no. It's, nothing is ever passive.
No, not ever completely passive.
This is, I would say, like it's semi-passive, I would say.
Yeah.
Because you still have to be involved to a certain form, but it's the best use of your time, right? I mean, how much more can you get? Like if I were to be going back to corporate, my rate as an engineer would be like, I don't know, maximum £60 an hour. But when we're doing like deals like this, one phone call, 600 quid.
Yeah.
That would takes you what, less than half an hour to.
And how many of those deals do you need to stack?
Yeah, exactly.
To be making thousands of pounds every month for just literally connecting the dots.
It depends on you that, how much you want to scale and grow. Some people have a massive appetite that want to grow the company to a big level, right? But then that comes with the staffing costs, overhead costs, space, that's all add up. For us, we have a very low overhead cost in this case. So we work with a lot of subcontractors with the smallest team, but we keep the tight operations and then we keep selling more deals.
Yeah.
Yes, we scale more on in terms of like the sales personnel, because that's where you get more leads coming through and they close more sales with you as well.
And I think that's what we've realized is that every business, whatever you do, whatever you're selling, producing, promoting, this is something that we've realized over the last few years. It all comes down to lead generation. It doesn't matter. You could have the best product in the world, but unless you can get eyes on it, unless you can get people seeing it, buying it, needing it, knowing about you, knowing that you exist, then you're never going to sell it, or you're never going to be able to provide it if it's a service. So that's why we've now lent so heavily into lead generation over the last, 2 to 3 years, and started leaning so much more heavily into this side of the business, which is generating leads, selling bookings, selling clients, selling inquiries.
Yep.
Because
but that's not going to happen if you just rely solely on the OTAs.
No.
If you just sit back, it's quite easy, right? Just to let Booking.com's Airbnb does the work.
And we've always been so shocked, right? It's how many people purely just sit on there and just wait. We've always been surprised at that.
Yeah, I think in some way,
Is that because it's not taught on these courses?
No, I think part of the reason is when you enter the hospitality, Airbnb business like this, that you're not really treated as a business, because if you have a business, right, you're gonna have sales and marketing function. You're gonna be doing PRs, you're gonna be doing marketings, advertising. But if your only form of advertising is OTAs, then why is that?
Yeah.
So you're not really treating it that way.
Because really the silly thing about it, when you think about it, is that everybody that looks at your property, they're looking at 100 other very comparable properties down the street.
Yep.
Because you're on that one or two platforms.
Yep. And this is something that, a lot of people spend a lot of money as well doing their very, very nice websites. But the key is, how are you going to drive the traffic to your website in the first place? You're going to have to do lots of blocking, SEOs.
Costs a fortune too.
Yeah. I don't understand in that sense that, people spend so much money doing the website, doing everything, but they don't spend time to do lead generation.
I think it's a shock when people, they do the training, they come out very motivated, very hungry, very inspired. They go out, they do everything right, get it on the portals, and then nothing happens.
Yep.
And it's
all they show is on the same property group, but that's not where you're going to find clients.
No.
You should be out there in business meetings. You should be,
or going to the property networking events.
Oh well, pulling the same people in.
Everybody there doing the same thing.
Place,
so lead generation and generating inquiries for us now is we're still running our own properties and management, but it's really a growing part of our business now, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, working with insurance company as well, if they are your clients, and then we got these inquiries with the insurance company, and then we give it to our partners' properties. This was the case in November 23. So it's been over a year that they stay with us. Not at our property, at someone else's properties. Yeah. And we're just making, £600, £700 every single month. Yeah. Doing nothing.
Without trying to, say we're anything special. We're not. We've just been doing it a while. To hear of so many people who are desperately struggling and fighting and scrapping it out just to get, a 2 or 3 night booking in their own property. And then at the other end of the spectrum, when you know how to generate leads and how you know how to nurture relationships and build client bases and do, your reach outs and your different funnels and all this kind of stuff, not only can we consistently fill our own properties, but we've got all of this endless bucket of leads that we're then selling on. And that, you can go into a lot of the people listening to this are, in the same property groups as we are. Go in and you see Pooh's constantly posting inquiries. We need this, 180 nights here, 65 nights here, families, insurance contractors. This is how we're generating a huge part of our income now. And it's a completely different thing. And it's because in the courses, in the trainings, it's not talked about, it's not discussed, it's not taught. Nobody knows how to do it.
Personally, I find that paid ads is not working so well if you're not targeting the right people. Yeah. So the quickest way to do is, just go through the contact list first. But you need to be able to categorize into what kind of niche market you want to serve to begin with. Yeah. Is it a leisure market such as, if you're like a wedding specialist or something, right? Then you niche yourself down into catering or suppliers or venue, to support all that. Yeah. And then you can target them heavily. Yeah. Or if you're into different corporate markets, is it blue collars? Is it white collar market that you're looking at? What kind of company you want to be working with?
We're all taking it back to basics.
But we can't cover this in the podcast. No. It's too much.
No. Do you want to spend your time nurturing leads and selling leads, or do you want to put your time into, like you said, dealing with cleaners or, running around,
Yep.
scrapping it out for maintenance work. It just doesn't make sense. This is where the smart way to spend your time. Like Pooh said, we can't teach you stuff in a podcast. We are switching our whole training to now lead generation, inquiries, selling deals, and starting to fill your bank account with large amounts of money in a very, very passive way through selling these inquiries to all of the other hosts out there who are struggling, scrapping it out, driving their prices into the ground simply to get booked. It doesn't have to be like that. So it's going to start ramping up in our group over on Facebook. Airbnb Blueprint is going to start switching to lead generation, selling inquiries, and making lots of money consistently. Consistent recurring revenue is what we are all about, and we'll show you how to do the exact same thing. Just head over to the Facebook group. In the show notes is where you're going to find the link. You've got to go into the show notes, click on the link, join the group, and start looking into our training. There's going to be tons of free stuff on there, webinars, lots of little masterclasses about this kind of stuff. So come and join us. Yeah? Cool. We'll wrap it up there. We'll see you next week. Thanks so much for listening to the Airbnb Blueprint podcast. We'll see you next week. Take care.